What's going on, everybody? This is the Growing Pains Podcast. As you know, my name's Jordan, here with Big Z.
Let's
and
go.
Today we got Tristan Dlabik. That's how you say it, right?
Dlabik,
okay. Yeah, I knew it was pretty close, but
That's the
I was
closest.
watching your Adversity Kings, and I'm like, I'm going to get it. So, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yes.
Out here in Chicago. Took the flight last night. Well, we're in Lombard, right?
Yeah,
Lombard. So it's like 40 minutes or 30 minutes, but we're going to go through your childhood, kind of how you grew up, how you got to where you're at today. Obviously, touch on some life insurance. You're a motivational guy, so I want to get into all that good stuff. But first and foremost, where'd you grow up?
Grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Okay. What was it like out there? A little different from the city, or?
Yeah, so Little Rock is the root of my soul. It's southern. It's country. My dad, to this day, has a little ranch down there, so horses, chickens, cows, the whole nine. You know what I mean? Despite all the money and success that I've built up, even when I go down there, you know what I mean, I'm cleaning out a horse stall and, we're just living off the land. So it's like there's definitely a very unique complexity that comes to the root of who I am, because the money and the success is a byproduct of the self-development, the discipline, everything that I learned from the country. You know what I mean? But at the same time, that's not what fulfills me. I love living off the land. You know what I mean? Right. I love the good old country. I love throwing on country music and just getting in a truck, fishing and hunting and just the whole nine. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's cool and all, but I also don't have a weakness then. You know what I mean? Because like me losing money doesn't like crush me where it would crush somebody else and different things like that. So that's how I grew up. And it's a lot deeper than that as well, because there was a lot of what I've been using the term indoctrination, but maybe that's not the best, but just the seeds that my dad and my mom planted in me from a young age. Quitting was never allowed. Mm-hmm. Emotion had to be regulated. It wasn't that I wasn't allowed to be emotional, but it had to be reasonable to be emotional. So there was no crying, there was no complaining, blaming, and even joy had to be regulated. You know what I mean? I had such a fun time, but at the same time, it's like not too much of anything. Stay poised, stay stoic, and go win was pretty much my dad's motto. You know what I mean? And
like earn it all, pretty much, right?
Earn it all. And everything was kind of like built around war as well. We watched a lot of Troy, 300, Scarface. So these are all things that were like being instilled into me at a very young age. So my programming from a child was discipline, was face all your fears, face all your enemies, your opposition, never turn away from another man. I think there's a scene in Troy that I obsess with that I remember from just being a young man. I watched this movie every single night to go to bed for years on end. And I remember this scene in there. This young boy goes up to this warrior, Achilles, and tells him, they're looking for you. Please come. You know what I mean? The war is beginning, and they need you to go out and fight this man so that it isn't a full-out war. Achilles is waking up. He's getting his gear, and the boy looks at him. He tells him, hand me my helmet. The boy looks at him. He's like, this man you're fighting, he's the biggest man I've ever seen. I wouldn't want to fight him. And Achilles pauses, and he looks at him. He said, this is why you'll never be remembered. No one will ever remember your name. Yep. And that just stuck with me. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't matter what you're facing in life. You know what I mean? Whatever how-to you're facing right now, whatever resources you're limited to right now, whatever situation, circumstance you're in right now, like, go face that shit.
For sure, you have to. Like the discipline, I think, is something that a lot of kids, like, we're all pretty much from the same generation. I feel like a lot of kids in our generation don't have that. I feel like
not at all.
Discipline, hard work, all that, which instilled in you at a young age. Like, I'm a little different than you. My mom was kind of more of like show your feelings, where my dad was like, I cried and he kind of just laughed at me. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of the same way with emotions and things like that. Like, don't show them. But I did have that side that was like, do show your feelings. So it's tricky for me at least. But I definitely came up the same way. My best friend's dad, who passed away last year, was in the military. And when he passed away, I told my best friend, your dad was always hard on me when I was growing up. And I never understood why until now. Like, I'm grown and I understand, like, the world ain't easy. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. Right. So you get that at a young age. And you grow up and you turn into a monster. Yeah. And that's where I feel like you're at now. Yeah. Yes. But down there in what'd you say, Little Rock? Yeah. What was your childhood like? Like, what did you do down there?
Matter of fact, I gotta know, is it a reason why it's called Little Rock, Arkansas? Like, know
what? That's actually a really great question.
Is there a rock?
There's a mountain there. There's a massive mountain, Pinnacle Mountain, in Pinnacle Valley, which is actually really close to where I grew up, and it's actually a pretty massive mountain. Yeah. So you know what I mean? It's a good 2-mile run to the top. So, I really couldn't pinpoint exactly why Little Rock, but I bet, you know, some founding fathers or
It's got to be a
individuals
reason
that
why.
I would imagine. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Okay.
how long were you down there? Like you went through
10
middle
years
school,
there.
high school, all that down there, or?
Yeah, so it's actually a little different. So my parents split up when I was 6, and you know we moved up to Pennsylvania, where my mom was from, and stayed with my grandparents for it had to have been a couple weeks or a month or so. My mom would be able to give the exact details, but I remember her coming home one day and telling me she had to go away. So she went away, did some federal time, and the total time she was away was 15 months exactly. It felt like a lifetime.
I could
Felt
imagine.
more like 2 years, but in that process, went back down to Arkansas while she was away. Spent that whole time with my pops. Didn't hear from my mom much, not either of their choices. You know what I mean? From not hearing from them.
Right.
And then my pops went away at the end of the 15 months. My mom came back, got us again, and that was around 9 or 10. So pretty much until 10 years old there. Then my dad went away, and then he pretty much was away for the rest of my childhood. Got out, but you know I don't believe we tried to reconnect, didn't work, and probably tried 2 or 3 times and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And we just started talking again. Probably
I seen
a
you
month
post
or
that.
2
That's
ago.
awesome.
Yeah, so just started talking again
awesome.
a month or 2 ago, and so yeah, till 10 years old, Arkansas, and then till about 20 years old, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Yeah.
What was it like for you growing up? Like both of your parents going away. Did that affect you like as a kid? You think, or did you not really realize it until you were older?
Yeah, no, it definitely affected me. Mom, I didn't process properly initially. Like I wasn't very like consciously aware, but it was it hurts more as I get older because I can reflect and realize like the absence of that love was a beautiful thing, but a painful thing. It's like the thorn of a rose. The rose is beautiful, but that thorn, it will deeply penetrate your inner soul. And so that's exactly what happens as I grow and I reflect onto my past of having that absence of a mother's love. But it was beautiful as well because if you watch 300 and you truly understand and you study how they indoctrinate the young Spartans, they send them out into the woods to live for a week, month, whatever, alone. And so it's like I believe in sending your kids in a sense, it just to necessarily be in a position where there is absence, because eventually there will come a day where you can't tie your son's shoes, where you can't be there when your daughter gets into an argument. Like there will be a day where you are absent, and if they can't be ultimately self-competent without you, and have that self-mastery, then they're not even going to be able to live a full life. So that's I think the impact that it had on me. It was a beautiful, painful process that was occurring from both ends of the spectrum. And as I reflect back, I don't necessarily regret the absence. I almost want to try to find a way to kind of create similar scenarios where my children can kind of evolve the same way, because I don't mind the way I turned out, my sister turned out.
Yeah, I was getting ready to ask you, like, is that like some of the practices that you would practice when
I don't want to go to jail, but
definitely. I talk about that a lot, though, is I feel like when you're growing up, you have to have some struggle, which, like I said, I have a 1-year-old, so it's hard for me because obviously I don't want my kids to struggle.
Yes.
And, I want to make millions of dollars and all this and give them a great life. But I feel like I love Adversity Kings.
Yes.
The last podcast we did, I talked about it. Like all the kids that grow up rich, they never see this adversity. And then when they get hit with adversity, they fall.
Yeah.
I feel like me growing up, I'm sure you growing up, you went through all that adversity and it's like nothing's going to break you at this point.
Yes.
So I feel like struggle is one of the best things a kid can have growing up, which sucks to say, but it's like you need something, to be able to get through it when it hits you when you're a grown up.
Yes.
So down in Pennsylvania, up in Pennsylvania, down in Arkansas, you went to high school in Pennsylvania, I would?
Yes.
Okay. What was that like? What type of student were you?
I got kicked out of every school.
Yeah?
So by 10th grade, I was fully expelled.
What did you get expelled for?
Fighting. Yeah, for me, was everything was always
So you're a warrior aggressive. Back then, too, huh?
Everything was always aggressive. I think first time I put my hands on somebody was 5th grade. I remember getting off the bus, and this kid, I personally didn't care at all. I just liked for a reason to, like, just hurt someone.
Yeah.
So, but I remember him saying the N-word, and I really didn't care. Like, I really could care less.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never defined by a word. You know what I mean? I look at it as like, if you get upset over a word, I think you're stupid. You know what I mean? Just me personally. But I just wanted to hit somebody. We got off the bus. My mom said, never fight in school. Said, that's fine. Got off the bus, and I just drop kicked this kid.
Not in school, right?
Right in front of his house. But they still saw, you know what I mean? Because I'm talking about right off the bus and just drop kicked this kid. So
off the bus?
Yeah, right off the bus, dude. So, that wasn't a good situation. So it started probably like 4th, 5th grade, right when my dad went away, and all that anger just built up inside of me. And from there, it was ISS, OSS, and then finally, by my sophomore year, I was expelled. And I was, thank God, I couldn't get expelled from cyber school. So I was in cyber working at UPS, and my mom was doing my school pretty much during the day. I think the only lessons I'd pay attention to would be like history. You know what I mean? Like I would do history lessons, but I wasn't going to do any math. Didn't care about like science or anything like that. So like I would just pawn that off onto her, tried to throw her a couple bucks, anything I could do to kind of help out. And I was on the streets a little bit. You know what I mean? Nothing major, but I was out there. You know what I mean? Like had a little piece. And just stupid things, just stupid stuff I got involved in.
Young and dumb, right?
Yeah, young and dumb.
Absolutely.
So when you said you went to UPS, so like when you got out of, or when you got expelled and you went right into workforce?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was working since 16 years old. My first job was actually, I want to say Chick-fil-A, and I think I got actually fired for going to church. So like I was at church and I told them I can't come in, which is understandable because I'm scheduled to go in. I was like, hey, look, I'm at church, I can't make it. Yeah. And they were like, oh, we're gonna have to let you go.
That's the last place I feel like would fire you for going to church.
You know what I mean? It's funny to look back on, but I understand principle wise, being on the schedule. But then that led into UPS, and I worked there for 1.5 years. I was a loader for 6 months, and then I was a supervisor.
I was
for
an unloader.
You were an unloader?
I was an unloader.
He got expelled too.
I did get expelled, and then when I quit there, I worked overnight. Yeah. And the guy, he came up there and he's screaming at me. He's like, what the hell's going on? Yeah, this truck should have been, it was an Amazon truck, so it's the small boxes. Yeah. And he's like, what's going on? This truck should have been done an hour ago, this and that. And I'm unloading it by myself. He's cussing at me, this and that. Yeah, that's how And I'm like, listen, I walked to the end of the truck. I said, listen, dude, I don't even let my parents speak to me how you're speaking to me. I took off my shirt, threw it right in his face, and I walked out. Yeah. I'm not, no way.
That's how everybody quits. Like, I kind of quit similar.
No way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody disrespectful, right?
Yeah.
Dude, that place should not, UPS facility should not be legally, like, operated.
It should not.
The way they operate, bro, I promise you go in there, it is like, borderline not like employment. You know what I mean? Like you can fill in like you're not, bro. I swear to God, I was like when I got into like this and I found out how easy it was to just be an entrepreneur and just go do sales, I was like, I'm gonna get so rich, not because I had a hard childhood, but because I worked at UPS for 1.5 years and they work you like a single.
You never wanted to go back to that, right?
Yeah, bro, I'm talking about hot, sweaty, and dirty every day, no matter what. Just for some 50-year-old like mad old Caucasian dude to come yell at you, you know what I mean, and talk in a crazy tone, bro. Yeah. Like, crazy.
And I worked the overnight, so he had no problem with cursing at me. He's screaming.
Zero. There's nobody overlooking him, right?
Nobody. He's just in there by himself.
And you're supposed to be protected by your union. The union, your union don't protect you.
So they call me the next day, and they're like, oh, so what can we get you to do to come back, this and that? And I'm like, dude, listen. I don't know what you guys are running over there, but it's not correct. Whatever you guys are doing over there is not correct.
I'm surprised they haven't been sued, dude.
Yeah, literally.
I'm surprised.
It's because they're doing it all on the overnight.
Yeah.
Nobody's overseeing it.
Shoot,
so before I want to get into life insurance a little bit and kind of where you're at today. But before we get into that, you got something?
Yeah. Did you go to college?
I actually I was enrolled for a week or two at an HBCU. Okay. So an HBCU is an historically black college. Mm-hmm. And because that's when a time I was trying to reconnect with my dad, and I was there for a week or two. And it's funny, though, because it's an all black college, basically. Yeah. And I'm light skinned, bro.
Right.
I'm light. Sometimes I got to, convince people and pull up a picture of my dad. Right. You know what I mean? Just to show them, dog, no, I'm half. You know what I mean? I promise you, it's not 25, it's half. And, so it was funny, though, because I'd look around, I'd be like, man, where are the other light skins?
So you were there for 2 weeks?
Yeah, I was there for a week or two.
Yeah. Would you refer college to somebody?
I don't know what college I went to, but no, because I remember one of the classes I sat in and we were doing addition, and I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna pay for me to learn 2 + 2 again?
Yeah,
literally. No, you know
I got kicked out my first semester. So
yeah, so I was like, this is very remedial. And then the biggest thing people need to realize is when it comes into investing into your education, you're paying someone to teach you to live a way that they know. Mm-hmm. Right. There's a difference between a tour guide and a travel agent. A travel agent will send you someplace they've never been. Yeah. A tour guide's been there. So now we're paying professors hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they actually don't make any money. We're paying universities hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we're putting young adults into astronomical, devastating, paralyzing debt that they will probably never be able to just get out of whatsoever. And we're deceiving them and telling them this professor who's making $50,000 a year, miserable, unhealthy, is going to be able to show them to live a life they have no idea about. Yes. I've never met a professor come up to me ever, and I really can't even speak on behalf of any professors, but I'm just saying I've never had an encounter with a professor doing better than I am. You know what I mean? So when these kids tell me they're going to school for business, and I tell them, what's your professor make here? About 50 grand. I'm like, I got to spend that twice a month to break even. You know what I mean? So what your professor makes a year, I got to spend twice a month just to break even, not make a profit. You know what I mean? So
and they never ran a business
from. Exactly. But would I let a YouTube doctor operate on me? No, I would not. I would want a college doctor to cut my body open. You know what I mean? So if like,
I don't know, you can learn a lot of stuff on YouTube now.
You can learn a lot. There's some YouTube. I'm gonna be honest. Being in the car industry, there's some YouTube mechanics that are pretty damn good.
1,000%. But let me call up a doctor right now. You need to have a massive neurological operation.
No way. No way.
That's the only thing I'm sold on. I've heard of prisoners being able to legally get themselves out of prison because they studied law for 10 years in prison. So I don't believe you need. I don't believe you need school to be a lawyer. You know what I mean?
I agree the same thing. I think doctors and things like that.
I think doctors about it. I really can't think of anything else. Dentist. I don't think I would want a YouTube dentist cut my teeth open.
Medical field, but
that's about it.
We talk about that all the time. Like people taking advice on how to be a millionaire from somebody that hasn't made $1 million.
Right.
Like, what are you doing?
That's why
Same
I
thing
asked
with
that
college.
question, because you answered that beautifully.
Yes, copy and paste. Everybody's copying and everybody's pasting. It's just some people pick the best people to copy. Most people just pick mediocrity. That's why people are always so upset. They're like, tax the rich. And they think that's going to recirculate funds back to the low level. You keep copying low-level habits and thoughts, and you're operating at that frequency, you get in this life who you are. You don't get what you want, and you don't even get what you don't want. You get the frequency that you operate on. So if you want to elevate to a level you've never been before, you have to think and operate at things you've never done before.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I love that. That's like people wanting a raise every year, but they're doing the same thing they did last year.
Yes.
Like people want more. If you want more money, you got to do more. Like that's how it is. Like in our company, somebody wants a raise. Like you're doing the same thing you did last year. Why do you deserve a raise?
Yes.
Dude, I don't deserve a raise. I'm doing the same thing. Like that's my mindset. I'm doing more. I deserve a raise. That's how I feel.
I wear 9 hats in the company. I'll do anything.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how you have to be.
Any position, I'll do it.
You got to do more to get more. That's just how life works. And there's so many people in today's society, we talk about this a lot, that like want more but want to do the same thing they're doing. Want more for less. Like, and I don't understand how that makes sense to anybody. Like I definitely have seen the things you post on Instagram, and it's like what you just said. Work harder, get more. You got to do something you've never done to get something you've never had. And it makes total sense to me, but I feel like most of society it doesn't make sense to, which is ridiculous, which is probably why it's the easiest time right now to become a millionaire.
Absolutely.
I would say.
Couldn't agree more.
I got one last thing kind of from your childhood, and then we'll get into a little bit of life insurance that I'm pretty interested in. Did you play sports at all when you were growing up? I know you said you were a fighter, but what kind of sports did you play? Yeah,
so I was pretty much in everything from a young age, from football, wrestling, boxing. And actually, my mom had me swim a little, so that's.
I got my son in swimming.
See, and then from there, I think my mom actually had me breakdance a year too. You know what I mean? So a little bit of everything, and then football carried up until.
So when we're done, you can bust a move for us.
I can do a move still. I can still do a move. Football up until 8th grade, couple concussions, broke the thumb, and then again, just with my mom. You know what I mean? If I was with my dad, I'd probably be in the NFL right now. But I was with my mom, so she, you have too many concussions. You know what I mean? Your thumb's broken. All this stupid, you know what I mean? Soft, like, it is what it is. And Mom, you're not stupid, and that's not, you weren't soft, but you're a loving, caring mother, so I understand. She wanted to protect me and everything. And I had some bad concussions. You know what I mean? Like, I got kicked in the head by a horse when I was young. So, you know what I mean? It was a colt, but still, it took a kick. So,
a kick's a kick. When kick's a kick. You know what I mean?
How dedicated were you when you played sports? Were you all in?
Yeah, there were seasons of dedication. You know what I mean? So it's like I remember when I was young, 5th, 6th, and maybe like 7th grade, like really bought in. and I was a starting quarterback. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like at that Pee Wee level.
You're all
like,
the way in.
I think being a starting quarterback when there's no dad supporting at a Pee Wee level, usually like the ones that start have dads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like at that Pee Wee level, I didn't
Typically
have a dad.
the coach.
Yeah.
It's always political too when
exactly.
it's when you're that young.
Like I didn't have a dad there, so I had to earn that shit. You know what I mean? So it's like, and my boys that played, you know, at a higher level were like, oh, and I was like, listen, motherfucker, like you maybe you had your dad and shit like that helping you. I didn't have my dad helping me. You know what I mean? So it's like
you're just getting off the strength.
I had to get that shit. You know what I mean? I remember running laps and doing sprints at my apartment complex and doing push-ups, putting Eminem on. My mom would play Eminem, and you know what I mean. Listen to old school Eminem, and just I was just working out, man. I was just getting it.
Get to it, right?
But then I kind of fell off. I got like right around when I was 12 or 13. I started. I called my mom yesterday. I was like, when did I start really hitting the streets? She was like, you were probably right around 13 when you like started being like real bad and like.
That's kind of when I fell off with sports.
Yeah, 13 years old, man. I think I started like drinking and you know, smoking.
I always like to ask people like that played sports, like what type of lessons do you think you took with you from sports? Being like in a team setting, you're in a team setting now. Do you think that helped you get to where you are now, or were you kind of just like
1,000%?
Yeah.
I think it's from my dad, and I think the biggest thing that I remember from him. There's two things. One, you hit first. The individual that's going to hit first is going to win, and you hit hard. You know what I mean? So it's like you always hit first. You get into that fight. You know that you're going to fight. Yeah. You hit first, and if you don't hit first, you better finish.
Expect it.
You know what I mean? So
a push is defensive. That's why you got to hit first.
You always hit first.
I remember this one time, this guy was messing up on just in the game, and I remember my dad was telling me just like put your helmet in his chest, put that motherfucker down. You know what I mean? We're like 8 years old, and that's how my dad is. And I was like, all right, I'll put that sucker down. You know what I mean?
Leveled them on the sidelines.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So it's like, number one, it was like, you better hit somebody. And I think that's like, business is like, you got to wake up and hit the day, or the day's going to hit you right in the mouth.
Right.
And then the second thing is no emotion, man. Don't show anybody.
Yep.
You know, don't show your cards. So it's like, you might be hurt, but they don't need to know you're hurt. You might be up, but they don't need to know you're up. You know what I mean? Stay controlled, stay poised, stay stoic. And so I think the combination of those two things have transmuted into my career of entrepreneurship and self-development. Is I'm going to hit every single day first. And secondly, I'm not showing any emotion. You know what I mean? Right. You don't know if I'm up or I'm down, but I'm coming. You feel me?
That's it. They're going to feel your presence. So going into what you're doing today, obviously we're here. You're doing life insurance. I see you hyping everybody up every morning. What was your journey like into life insurance? How'd that start for you? Yeah,
from the ground up, didn't know anybody. I was what they call a resume hire. So a lot of people in the sales industry entirely, I don't care what you're selling, typically somebody personally recruited you because there's some type of incentive in sales because sales scales through teams. You know what I mean? So like if you want to scale if you want to scale a revenue, you need more eyes. The easiest way to generate more eyes is to get more bodies pushing your product because most people suck at media. You know what I mean? So it's like if you're going to build a singular $1 billion sales company, you just need to have the most attention, like Logan Paul. Like even he has a sales team. You know what I mean? Because when he hires Kai Cenat or Speed and all these guys that he's got on it, like all these sales ambassadors, oh, we just signed this new person now. Well, that's a part of your sales team now. And they get a cut of the revenue. So it's like even he is generating from a sales team billions of dollars revenue, but it's more so singular. Now, if he had the same level of attention as all of us, he'd have to have thousands of sales reps, tens of thousands of sales reps.
The Warriors, right?
Exactly, the Warriors. So, you know, I would say for the insurance industry, it started for me ground up. Didn't know anybody. I was a resume. I got an automated email because I was, you know, just graduated cyber high school and, you know, I didn't know what I was going to do in my life. Tried to reconnect with my dad. The college didn't work out. I'm uploading that resume. Indeed hits me back. You know, here, check out, you know, this insurance company. I know nothing about insurance. I got an automated email from them. I'm like, this is probably a scam, honestly. You know what I mean? Because I have no credentials. My high school diploma is all I have. You know what I mean? I keep it in my drawer over here with all my 1099s, just as a reminder. Like, I went from nothing to 7 figures by the time I was 22 years old. So when everybody else was graduating with their bachelor's degree, I was paying $200,000 in taxes, $300,000 in taxes. You know what I mean? So
way
it's like,
ahead, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, just as a reminder, but I remember 7 years ago, it'll be 7 years in September, I was walking into an office in Gibsonia for an insurance interview, and I was 18 years old, and I had cornrows down on my shoulders, and I was a 145-pound menace. You know what I mean? So like just an absolute demon, bro, next to society. And I had to be, you know what I mean? Because that frame wouldn't really work now. You know what I mean? You know, I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of a female frame, 145 pounds.
Shit, man, I'm trying. That's why I've been in the gym with him, bro. Dog. Like,
I'm the same way. Like, I've put on 40, 50 pounds since graduating. So it's like 10 pounds a year. But I'm cool. I think I'm gonna try to stick at 200. You know what I mean? Like, I feel
10 pounds since January. I got Crohn's disease, so it's always been hard for me to put on weight.
Yes.
But I've seen just like my buddy, his thing, strength and consistency.
Yes.
It's all being consistent.
That's
and
all
like
it is, dude.
I always was a guy that went to the gym for a couple weeks and didn't see anything and was like, this ain't gonna work. Now I've been going to the gym since January. I'm up 10 pounds. It's like the consistency is what you need.
Dude, I've been angry since I was probably like 9 years old, dude. Angry, bro. Like therapist angry, bro. So like for me, like it was either we fighting or I'm fighting these demons. And so fighting those demons turned into working out. I think my dad started working me out like probably around 9 years old. Like after every meal, drop down push-ups. You're not going to bed without push-ups. You're not going to bed without lifting. You know what I mean? Like nothing crazy, but like
we just banged some out for the podcast.
Yeah, bro. So it's like people look at it and like, man, I want to look like that. I've had somebody tell me in the gym, it's like, man, I'd just buy your body if I could. And I was like, dog, I bought this body with 15 years of pain, bro. You know what I mean? I've been doing shit since I was 10. You know what I mean? Like since a young man. I remember, I think the six-pack came in. I think I was probably 15, 16. People were like, oh, that's puberty. Yeah, definitely. Everything's a percentage of testosterone, puberty, and everything like genetics. But it's like
what about
90% of America, you know what I mean, is not in the right position. So, and that how you do one thing is how you do everything. Like, you know, I'm doing a podcast with Andy Elliott. You know, I haven't told many people, but I'm doing a podcast with Andy Elliott.
It's awesome.
Like 5 days.
That's amazing.
Yeah, dude. So it's like, I won't force nobody in our office to, you know, take the shirt off and do the six-pack check and everything like that.
I love that, though.
I love it as well. You know what I mean?
I love
it. Yeah, bro. So
that's what people need nowadays.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everybody's. It's such a softer society than it was in, you know, 80s, 90s. Like it's not gritty anymore. It's okay to be soft, and I don't know. Personally, I just don't think it's okay.
Yes.
So I don't know, but
somebody walks in. I'm sorry. These kids are crazy.
I'm good. Running the business. But you talked about working out.
Yes.
When did you? That was at like 10 years old. When did you start taking like your self-development super seriously and focusing on, you know, your personal brand, your personal development? Was that from a young age, or was
working out or like reading?
Just working out, reading, just knowledge, like, you know, really focusing on yourself. 18?
Yeah, reading was probably 18 years old.
Okay.
But working out was 10. I was working out 2 times a day by 15, I think. By 15, I was getting up at 6 and working out. Do P90X3 in the morning. And 15, 16, P90X3 in the morning by 15, and I'd like run in the evening. And then when I started working at UPS, that's a workout, bro.
Yeah.
It was P90X3 before UPS. UPS for like 5 hours a day because they could keep you on weird shifts.
Yeah.
And then I'd come home and I would run. You know what I mean? So I was at one point like it was like I didn't really like when I look back I thought I was a shit, but I was like 145 pounds. Dude, and like, I was like, my stomach was veiny and everything like that, but I'm like, now I look at him like, oh, you look kind of malnourished. You know?
You got to put the weight on, right? You got to have the weight on there.
So now, that's kind of gross.
When you were 18, with you saying how you were when you were younger, obviously, I know from experience that you didn't like to read before you were 18.
Dog, I wasn't reading nothing.
Exactly. So now how hard was that for you to start reading?
Man, it's
because I'm actually going through it right now. I hate reading, but I've been really trying to.
All of these are read.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
I've been looking at them. I read a bunch of them.
I read a couple. I was looking at a couple of them.
This is all read. This is all read. The pile there is what I'm reading.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So for me, a switch flipped. I'm a very obsessed, possessed individual. When I find something and I want it, I get it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. I'm fine. Here's what I'm fine with where most people lose. And I make this reference a lot. There's a lot of individuals that I know that can beat Goliath. David and Goliath. Everybody obsesses over, I got to go beat my Goliath.
Yeah.
That's not what takes people out. David was anointed at 15 years old to be the king of Jerusalem, of Israel, of the Promised Land. He didn't take the throne until he was 30. It isn't Goliath that trips people up. It's the 15 years of waiting for your throne.
Yes.
I can wait for a throne, dog. You know what I mean? I'll live below means for 15, 20 years to destroy somebody.
For sure.
I don't care. You know
Everybody
what I mean?
wants
so, like,
instant gratification.
Like for me, I personally don't like. I prefer pain. Like I don't even like to fight to hurt someone else. I like it to hurt. Like I like getting hurt. It's weird. You know what I mean? Like, I love it. You know what I mean? So it's like that's where I find myself beating individuals. And like when that switch flipped and Simon told me the average millionaire reads 52 books a year or 50 books a year, a book a week. Yeah. I've been reading 100 books a year since. You know what I mean? Like it don't like for me, like when I connect something to how I get something, getting there, the process and the how-to get there, to get what you desire, I'll do that how-to every freaking day with a smile on my face. Yeah. I don't care what pain it is, dog.
Okay. And all the books and the reading, like that's just putting more tools in your tool chest. That's what I say all the time. Yeah. And there's some times where you're going to read a book, you're going to try something that's not going to work. You light the book on fire, you go to the next one. But
bro, honestly, like there isn't much I've gotten from these books. It's all like pretty.
You probably read them and say, "I do this shit," like this, because I feel that way. I read a lot of books and I'm like, man, I feel like I'm doing all this stuff, especially the self-help books.
Yeah,
like,
it's that, and it's more so of like, I just know motherfuckers ain't doing it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I just like to look someone in their eye and take their soul. Like, I know you ain't doing this shit, dog. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, just for that.
You know what I mean?
Them. And I think that gives you the confidence. That's where confidence exudes. It overflows in correspondence with the actions that you keep true to yourself.
Yep.
And so when people are confident in every area of their life, you know, it's just your confidence just reveals what you consistently do. It's why most people are confident in weakness. Yeah. They hide because they know internally they're not committed to the things that are laid before them. They know what they could do and what they need to do, and people just do what they feel like doing. Yep. That's why 90% of people have a weak confidence, because you're still confident. You're just confident in your weaknesses. Yeah. Where it's like you can't be confident in something you don't consistently do because you lie to yourself every day. You don't get up when you say you're going to get up. You don't work out like you say you're going to work out. You don't eat what you say you're going to eat. Yep. And I'm the least disciplined. Here's where I beat people. I create an environment where I don't have a choice. If there were fucking cookies in here every day, I would eat them every day. Yeah. But there's not. There's cookies in here one day a week. You know what I mean? And I keep them out there. Yeah. And it's like I always post crumble cookies, and people are like, how do you keep the body? It's like, I don't eat any of those cookies. I take a corner. Yeah. I'll take one corner. If I'm really, I'll take a corner.
When I came to the corner. I watched you.
I'll take a corner, dog. Yeah. But most people take a corner every day.
Yeah. Or they eat a whole damn
cookie. Eating the cookie's like, I don't need that, dog. Just give me a corner. I'll be all right. I just need a little
satisfaction. Like you don't need the full
that
thing.
Sucker, dog. I'm sucker free.
Yeah, gotcha. No, I love it. You brought up Simon there a little bit.
Yes.
I kind of want to hear about how that relationship started, and then just the importance that you feel of having a mentor.
Yeah.
A little bit of that, because I know you're doing some mentorship things, and
it's invaluable.
Yeah.
So Simon's phenomenal. Simon took me under his wing. Probably after, because I didn't know Simon. So probably after 3 to 6 months in the business, and I started getting results, and he slowly started with group meetings. Hey, look, top rookie producers, I want to meet with you and give you some closing tips. And there was this close he gave me, and I may not have used it very much, but it was a simple fact that he's 10 years in the business. He showed me a 1099, and he had to have been 34, 35. And that year prior, he made like $12, $13 million. You know what I mean? So I've never seen any type of money like this.
Somebody you want to listen to for sure.
Yeah. So, exactly. So identifying the right mentor is point number one. Yep. And I got very lucky because most 18-year-olds, they just find anybody with any type of surface level of success and they buy that Kool-Aid. Mm-hmm. I bought the right Kool-Aid by God alone. It was only God that had ordained this meeting, because if I would have bought anything, we were so broke and so hungry, and I was so hungry to win and find something in life. I would have bought anything. So I'm very thankful. You know what I mean? I didn't come across like some street lord or something. Or like just something that was very just like corrupt. So, Simon showing me this money 6 months in, he starts pulling me aside. He shows me this close. It's called the Heartbeat Close. And he's like, man, imagine sitting down with Joe and Mary, and you're going over their benefits, and you look Mary in the eye. And you look Joe in the eye and you say, Joe, one day your paycheck, it's like a heartbeat. It's here. It's beating. And you slam the table in the house. It stops. You're no longer here. The money stops coming in. Are you prepared for that day?
Hell of a close.
That's a hell of a close.
We're going to set aside $2 or $3 a day. You're going to sign here, and we're going to make sure on the worst day of your entire life, Mary, you're going to be taken care of.
Wow.
Where do you go wrong with doing that?
You sold me already.
Exactly. So
where do I sign it?
How many times
I don't know if I use that close that many times, but the simple fact that he could close and he was so passionate and his voice and he could sell. I could tell he could sell. There's a lot of weak leaders and mentors out there that can't sell. You need to be able to sell. Yeah. You need to be able to produce. You need to be able to lead from the front, because I don't care what you're doing. It could be vacuums. It could be corporate America. It could be athletics and academics. If you can't lead from the front and you can't communicate and sell and show people I'm a producer, you will never reach high heights in life. The height that you reach in life is going to directly correspond to your ability of self-leadership, of personal production. Right. The greatest leaders you can ever think of, Napoleon, he fought beside his men. Alexander the Great, he fought beside his men. The founding fathers, they fought with the men. They were generals in the war. The presidents didn't start, here's where America really started getting corrupt. It's in your third, right around your President 25, 30 and beyond, you can see the level of intelligence starts to decrease because your first 10 presidents spoke 3 different languages. One of our presidents, I forget which one, it could have been Andrew Jackson. He was actually a warrior president. I don't know if you guys know this, but he dueled over 100 times. Imagine your president going outside and saying, "That's what you want. I don't agree with you. We're dueling." I love it. That's my favorite president.
That's awesome.
I would love that. You know what I mean? I'm trying to duel Joe Biden right
now. So it's like, you know what I mean? Just the simple fact of just our level of competency and just intelligence. You can just see all of it. Leadership from the front, mentorship is crucial. And people will get upset when it's time to invest into a mentor. You invest into a mentor regardless. Because the environment around you is mentoring you, whether you like it or not. And what you pay with is you pay with your time, which is far more valuable than your money. Because here's how you identify what your time's worth. What would you say when you reflect on your life that your overall lifespan net worth would be? What would you say? No limit.
No limit?
No limit. Your overall net worth.
100 billion.
100 billion.
Yeah.
So when you divide that into the hours that you live and you complain about the money that you need to invest into the connections, the networking, and the mentorship, you discredit yourself and you say you're only worth a fraction of that. People are like, I'll pay $10 for this. Well, then now you're saying you're only worth $1 million over your entire life.
And that's all you're going to get. You're going to get into something what you invest into it. Same thing like we were just talking about the gym. Like what you invest in your body is what you're going to get out of yourself.
Yes.
People don't see that with mentorship. And luckily for me, sort of same thing as you, like the owner in my company recognized like I take pride in talking to people. Like I think I could talk to anybody. I don't care where we're at. I'll talk to somebody. And he realized that and he took me under his wing. And he really showed me all the hard work, the sacrifice. Like, sometimes you got to miss a friend's birthday to get some shit done.
I missed all that shit, dog.
And a lot of people won't do that.
No.
And I got all that in my life from him. Not even him telling me, just me seeing it.
Yes.
Him taking the company out to dinner, when it's his daughter's birthday and she's not there. Things like that. And it's like, well, why is he doing this? Well, he's building something and he's building the people around him. He's building the warriors around him.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that. So he took you in as a mentor. You learned that close from him. What's some things in life that you learned from Simon?
The closing and the sales is a fraction of what I learned. Simon's challenged me. I've sent him a proverb every single day for the last 6 years. Simon's challenged me to, the most important thing is to stay close to God and find ways to just communicate and pursue that relationship with Christ even more every single day, just incrementally every single day. Just get close to God in the midst of the darkness, in the midst of the depths and the valleys. There's no better peace in the storm than calling on Jesus. You know what I mean? And staying focused in the Word of God. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the best and biggest thing he's gotten me and he's given to anybody is the Word of God. You know what I mean? And then just the mind, body, and spirit, the self-development, the challenging me to read. He had me probably for 3 years, 3-4 years of my career, all I read was John Maxwell, just leadership every single day. Yeah. And the first year was just sales books every day, just sales books, life insurance books for a year. Then 3-4 years of just Maxwell, leadership. Yep. And then now these last year or two, now I've expanded into more intellectually based books. I actually spent the last 1.5, 2 years, I read the Thesaurus, the dictionary, and a vocabulary book you'd see up there. So it's like and that was inspired because I started meeting so many bilingual people in Chicago, and I'm like, how the hell does somebody know 2 languages and I'm not a master of my one language.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I started learning Spanish. So I'm on 400 days of Spanish and like 300 days of Arabic. So my goal is to be trilingual within the next decade, know 3 languages, and just keep reading, man. But I got all of this from him. You know what I mean? The self-development. And that was like the grandfather mentor. But even more closely was my buddy who's got probably 4 years on me in the industry.
Yeah.
His name's Brody Evans, and he just bought a Ferrari today.
Wow.
He already has a McLaren.
That's
he has
awesome.
a G-Wagon. He just sold a Porsche 323 RS, and he has a allocation on a Lamborghini Revolto.
Wow.
All he's done is insurance.
Oh, my God.
He's 10 years into life insurance. He's 30, 31.
Yeah.
10 years into life insurance. And I was like, I look at him, I'm like, man, this is where everybody's headed if they don't quit. You know what I mean? And so it's not just enough just to quit. He works every day.
Yeah.
But like, simple dude. But this is who brought me up in the industry. So people see Simon's up here. He mentored a lot of us. But Brody was like my manager.
Yeah.
He's who I worked underneath and who like answered all my calls for insurance.
Yep.
Helped me with all my paperwork for insurance. Watched my film for insurance. So it's like every little like took my like when I'm going through bullshit because I got myself into something stupid.
Right,
you know what I mean? Out being dumb. He was there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's the one I probably still call today just because like Simon I look at as like a dad.
Yeah.
Brody's like my brother. Like, hey, bro, I'm fucked up. I need help.
I need some help, right?
Like, I need some help right now.
It's always good to have that relationship, though. Like, I kind of feel like that. Well, I mean, we're at the same level, but I feel like he does the same. Like, he'll check me, I'll check him. You know what I mean? Everybody has an off day.
No way you checking him.
Oh, I'm checking him. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now. You don't know.
He actually does.
You don't know how many times like
I checked him a couple times.
You're not a ballless guy.
No, man. That's my thing, man. Like, I might be small, but I'm not scared of nothing.
Yeah,
for real.
I'm not scared of nothing.
I respect that,
when it comes down to getting shit done, we got to get shit done.
Yeah,
and there's, like you said, all you're wasting is time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the only thing we're going to run out of. So,
amen.
We got to get out of it.
Hey, when you said you were talking about God and all this, right? Do you go to church?
Right there. I'm throwing every Sunday. I'm throwing Stephen Furtick.
Okay, all right. Because
Yep.
he actually mentioned to me a couple weeks ago about going to church and
something I've been trying to pursue a little bit, especially having my young son. Like I want to have that in his life.
Yeah.
Me and my family never was really big on it. I have seen it change people's lives for sure.
Yeah, it's not the building, it's the relationship. That's why I'm not worried about the building, because you'll have more demons in a church than you will have outside of a church.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like you can't just labels don't determine content. Content determines content. You know what I mean? So like what's inside is what matters. And so what I found is like I know so many beautiful people in the church, but I know a lot of beautiful people outside the church.
Right.
It's the heart that matters. It ain't like because we could put church on a strip club. It ain't a church.
Right.
It's a strip club.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't need to be going in there.
For sure.
So it's the content that determines your life. The label creates a perception. So a lot of people get deceived by perception because your label's everything.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We label this as lunchbox. You look at it as a lunchbox, but it might be a toolbox.
Right.
And you may never go and access it because you think it's a lunchbox.
It's a lunchbox.
So you gotta dig deeper. I look at the content. I don't care about titles. Titles don't mean shit.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like people call me CEO here, but I don't like that shit because I tell them this: don't check my title, check my heart.
Yeah.
God don't care about my title.
Yep.
I'm just a son of God. You know what I mean? Like your son might become the richest man in the world, but what will he always be to you?
My son.
Your son.
Right.
You're my son, dog. My dad don't care about my title.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He don't care. Like we ain't talked in years, seen each other in years. What up? You know what I mean? What up, son? You know what I mean? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Here, pops. You know what I mean? So it's like that's my ideology when it comes to life. It's like I wish humans, especially America, would just forget this title and label culture we live in, because people forget content. Like, and that's what stifles Christianity, because you will have a lot of corrupt churches out there that just take a big tithe and don't give it back to the community, and like they're just pastor pulls up in a jet. Like, how are you in here in a jet, dog? You know what I mean? Like we got homeless people around the building of the church.
Yeah.
So it's like the church is a being. It's me. I'm an extension of Christ. And so it's like the body of Christ is the church, not the building. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like I'd be doing more than some of these churches just myself and giving back. So it's like I would challenge you to look within and pick up the word of God, because that's the church. You know what I mean? Just talk. Like, hey man, I don't know if you out there and what's going on, but like, if you are,
I do that type of stuff all the time.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'd be like that, bro.
God, have a conversation with him in the car while I'm driving.
That's me, dude.
That's it.
That's me. You know what I mean? So it's like
I don't know anything's working, but I'm having a conversation.
And, hey, this is how I remind myself it's working. The sky's blue. I'm alive. Yeah. I'm functioning. Yeah. So I think that's a blessing, because when you start calculating all the different percentages of like likelihood of you being here, just existing, it's like a 0.01 trillion or something odds of you just even being born.
Yep.
Right.
Then for you to live through all of this, and here's another perspective to have to increase your appreciation.
Yep.
Do you know how many ancestors you had to go through for you to be here?
Thousands.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, imagine, could you survive in 1100? Or in 1000 or 1 BC. Like, imagine that, dude.
I'm an extremely confident person.
I know we all are.
For a fact
I know we all are.
I don't know, but the person I am, I'm going to say absolutely.
All your ancestors survived.
They did it.
The dinosaurs, all of the diseases, no medicine.
Yeah.
You ever got a severe headache and had to take a Tylenol or something?
Yeah. I don't take medicine.
Well, have you ever taken medicine?
Yeah.
Have you ever used a doctor?
Yeah.
Didn't exist for your ancestors.
Right.
And they had to survive just to reproductive age to produce your grandfather, your great-grand, just for you to be here, dog.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a God out there, man.
Yeah, no,
there's a God out there.
I say it all the time. Like, my dad grew up in the projects, and my family will never go back to that.
Yes.
Because of the way he raised me. It's the same way I'm going to raise my son. It's like, we're never going to go back to that because he made it through that. And the same thing you're saying, like, our ancestors made it through all this crazy shit.
Yes.
Now we don't have to.
Yes.
All that's over with. So I got 2 more things for you. What's your future personal goals? And what's your future goals in the life insurance industry? And then I got one last question for you, but we'll get into that a little bit.
So I've got a boring answer, because I've the goals I've pretty much accomplished a significant amount. I make good money. I've had a lot of cars. I've done really cool things. You know, I know a lot of cool people now. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like I've done affirmations. Here's a thing people I used to talk about a lot, but I just realized people weren't doing it, so I talked on it less. But I've written down my goals and my affirmations 80% of my weeks for the last 6 or 7 years, just different like little details.
Do it every week.
Yeah.
And they all pretty much came to fruition. I got a couple Jaguars by the time I was 20, 21 years old, made 100,000 by the time I was 19 years old, made $1 million by 22. So it's like, you know what I mean? I started to adjust, and now my number one goal is self-mastery. So every single day when I write down my affirmations, it's I am blessed, I'm grateful to be alive, and I'm grateful for this healthy, amazing body. This just me. I'm grateful for me.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I start speaking more life over me. And the next one is I'm grateful for my characteristics, my ability to overflow with love, compassion, dedication, discipline, my ability to work through all obstacles, any obstacles, my just this innate ability to just persevere, my speaking ability. So these are the things I'm writing down and programming my mind every single morning. And then when you create thoughts create emotions, emotions create motion.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I start every morning with proper programming. And people don't realize you program your mind every single second. It's your conscious report card.
The way you talk.
And that the way you talk to yourself is where it starts. But you have to program yourself, because your mind is a loose weapon. You have to tame it. Every day you have to tame it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's been the biggest thing for me in regard to goal taming and really putting things into perspective of like, because like all this nice, rich stuff is just like ice cream. You know what I mean? It's sweet for a second and it melts and goes away. But like the true fulfillment, the everlasting fulfillment is internal development. You know what I mean? Reaching your highest potential. That self-mastery, there's nothing better when I physically exhaust myself through working out, through work, and through spiritual faith, through pursuit of God, of like, don't care what happens, God. I'm trying my best not to be reckless and stupid, but I'm putting this all on you, because I'm going to give you all the glory. So like, I just spent all this money over the last 60 days. I've probably spent way more money than I should. Like we usually spend about $110 a month. I've probably spent over the last 60 days probably close to like probably $250, $300.
Investing in yourself in the company, though, right? I've seen a lot of the stuff you're posting.
Brother. It's not a Lamborghini outside. It's a white van. You know what I mean? It's a truck outside. I stay here 80% of the time. So it's like all of this is I'll give you the Andy Elliott was close to like 6 figures just to connect. You know what I mean? So it's like
it's a huge network.
Huge.
You need to build your network.
And that's going to lead me to Patrick Bet-David. You know what I mean? And so it's like, and what's going to be cool for you guys is like, this is, all you guys have to do is pay for your flight to get out here. Yeah. But you guys will be able to post in a couple weeks, hey, go check this podcast out again, because Tristan was with, this guy we did was with Andy and PBD. So it's like, I always tell people, you're just one relationship away from another relationship. Right? You know what I mean? So it's like, you guys connected with me. Now you're just one away from Andy. You know what I mean?
We've seen that a lot. We talked to a couple boxers, and the one boxer fought Roy Jones Jr., and he's connecting us with Roy Jones Jr., and it's just like, the more people you know, the more connections you build, and it's just like, man. Now you know these people everywhere, Andy, too.
We're coming for you.
Yes.
So I got one question, and then I got a quote that I think you're gonna love. I just want to get your outlook on it. But if you had to start tomorrow from zero, what would you do? I'm gonna change it up a little bit. If you had to go back and talk to your 13-year-old self, what do you think you'd tell yourself? Anything different?
That's good.
Or will you let yourself go through what you went through?
Yeah, I would probably say, trust God more and forgive your parents. You know what I mean? They that they're trying their best. As I've gotten older, I've started to realize that parents are just broken kids that grew up. You know what I mean? That had to grow up. We're all broken. Everybody's got brokenness in some way, shape, or form. And it's like as kids, we have this hero expectation of our parents because from that young baby micro perspective, we perceive them as bigger than life. You know what I mean? And then as we start to like consciously become aware, there start to be those letdowns, and we start to demonize. But Pastor David explains it where there's a humanization phase, and I've fully entered that phase of like I've always humanized them. I've always loved them and adored them to death. I've never had any grudges or issues. I wasn't the best kid, and I was very aggressive and not grateful at times. But I've always loved and forgive them deep down. So I'd say forgiving, loving, and more so in regard to the direction of life. I did a lot right. I was working out, and that I was seeking Jesus. But I'd probably say read more, because you got your 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds that are definitely out there pushing millions through YouTube and just different ventures and things like that.
For sure.
So it's like situational and economical awareness, environmental awareness. I would read more and things like that. But I like the being that I've created, because if I would have completely subjected myself to just self-mastery at 12, 13 years old, I wouldn't have gone through what I went through by running on the streets a little bit and like developing that character of I can fit in any room, bro. I'm not gonna go into a room with gangsters and feel too like weird. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not gonna go into a room with business individuals. Like, I'm a real comedian.
You'll be all right.
Black, white, country, city, it don't matter. Like, I've really subjected myself, and life did, God did. I feel like He always wanted me to be in a situation where I was gonna have a lot of influence, because I think the biggest thing a leader needs to be able to say is, I know how you feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know how you feel. You know what I mean?
That is
white,
big.
black, country, city. I know how you feel, my dog. I know how you feel.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Drake said something like in the beginning of one of his songs, everybody's saying they feel me. Yeah. You won't ever be able to feel me.
Yes.
And that's something crazy. Like once you get to that point, people telling you they feel you. Like you just spent a ridiculous amount of money in 60 days, and somebody's going to tell you they feel you. That made $2,000 last month.
Yeah, like it's like people be like, you should be buying that. It's like, dog, you're only saying that because you aren't here to say that. You don't know what I mean? You're judging from the perspective of inability. You can't tell somebody how something feels until you've walked through those shoes to an extent.
Yeah, for sure. So I write down a lot. I have a journal. I put a quote in the journal every day. I'm big on quotes. So I just want to get your outlook on this. I think you'll like this quote. So, there's beauty in everything we experience, the good and the bad. What do you think about that?
1,000%. Everything's perspective.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? There's duality in life. So I was telling the guys this morning as we were doing our morning sales call, and I was letting them know, it's like, listen, when it comes to life, you have to understand this. If you pray for the blessing, you have to understand it comes with an equally proportioned burden.
Yep.
Everybody just prays for the blessing. Everybody just prays for the come up, but they don't realize it also has a come down.
Sometimes the burden's the blessing too.
1,000% is.
Which people don't.
That is the blessing.
Perspective.
Yeah. Yes, that is the blessing, because the evolution that happens in the burden of wearing and carrying that weight, that's the true blessing. Because now you level up, and that's something that can't be stripped away from you. Your mindset, your being, that can't be taken from you. Everything else can be taken. I was telling a girl last night. You know what I mean? And she had made this compliment about something. I think she said you have a big heart. I texted her back. I said, everything else fades, baby. You know what I mean? Everything else fades. The look, the money, like, and I'd be worried about that. You know what I mean? I kind of like gave up on like finding a girl, because I'm like, bro, I bring in so much money now. Like, You know what I mean? I don't know if like she think I'm cute. Am I ugly? Like, I'd be looking in the mirror. Like,
she just want the money.
I'm like, she kind of bad for me, right?
You just got my ugly girl.
And I'd be like, yeah, no, you bad, dog. Yeah, you just, she like you for you. And I'm like,
just an ugly one that cooks good and treats you good. You'll be all right.
You know what? I'm like, everything else fades,
stick to what you were saying earlier. You got to find a country girl,
Country girl.
That's the best, man.
Bro, country or foreign? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
This girl's foreign. Yeah. So I don't know.
There you go. There was one thing I wanted to get into a little bit, so we'll hit it and then we'll wrap it up. But I feel like you're super motivational.
Yeah.
I see you doing the morning meetings. Like, you go in there and just say what you want to say? Do you prepare for that, or have you always been this way, or is this something you've developed over time?
Since I was a young age, people were always saying you should be a preacher. You know what I mean? Because I get real passionate and I start yelling.
Yeah, so, I love that.
Yeah,
so and I think that yelling, kind of transitioned into not talking to, but speaking with. I like to speak with people, learn their stories, like you guys are learning my story.
Yeah.
And then I like to share people's stories, and I like to share my story.
Yeah.
And so that motivation is storytelling. The best speaker in the room is the best storyteller in the room. So I just like to share stories of what I went through, what I've seen others overcome. And there's people out there who have so much better stories than me, and I just take their stories and I share it. Here's what he went through. Here's what she went through. And here's why you're going to make it. You know what I mean? That's what people need is they need a good story of, I know what you're going through.
Right.
Yep.
I've been there. I've seen others there. And God's not going to leave you where you're at because he's going to take you where he took down.
Right.
Just keep showing up. Keep going. So it's like that motivation, it comes. And I tell people because they want to be motivational speakers and they want to move people. I was like, listen, you only get to move people in direct proportion to how much you've let God move you.
Yep.
And so like I've let God move me through so much pain, through so much darkness, and through so much like, I don't know how this is going to happen, but I know who. Like Wes will say, don't matter the how, it matters the who. You are the product. Yeah. Everything else is byproduct of you. Yeah. Yep. But for me, it's deeper than that. And I like how Wes is creating content now and talking about God and how everything's ordained and already planned. So you don't have to worry about everything. Like just relax. Like it's already planned everything out. But for me, it's like the how, don't care about. The who, yes, it's me, but it's God. Like I don't know how I'm gonna get through this season right now. But I know who. I know God got me. Yeah. Because I got through. If you're 20 years old, you've lived approximately 7,000 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still here, dog. That's 7,000 days of victory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it. You gotta take the little wins,
brother. Yeah. I got 10,000 days in. I'm 25 years old.
You woke up today. You gotta win.
That's 10,000-0. I feel like death is the only defeat, and for me, really, it ain't a defeat. I'm gonna go be in the kingdom. So it's like, brother, I'm 10,000-0. I'm already. The odds are stacked against everything that opposes me. Yeah. If I'm 10,000-0. It's another day in the bag. Yeah. Imagine if you had to fight somebody and their record was 10,000-0. Every day I wake up, you got to fight me. I'm 10,000-0, dog. Yeah. I'm about to put another one on you. Yeah.
That's how you gotta
I'm
look
not
at
worried,
it.
bro.
Perspective. Yeah. And you have a great perspective for sure.
Yeah,
I've definitely seen that through.
No other choice.
Through the podcast, your perspective is great, and I feel like other people. I'm glad we sat down. I'm gonna be honest. I think this is probably my favorite episode we've had.
Definitely my favorite.
To be honest, just the perspective, like it's a perspective that everybody has to have.
Yeah.
And hopefully, with you doing all these big podcasts, your word gets out there a little more because I'm going to be honest, I support it. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm going to support everything that you do.
Yeah.
And honestly, I appreciate you letting us come out here, sitting down.
I appreciate you guys.
It's the Growing Pains podcast. We're with Adversity Kings, man. Yes. I appreciate it. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Tristan.
Thank you guys.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.